So, in response to that demonstration, God says to the angels, now bow down to Adam. And I thought, what does bowing down connote? Because, I already realized that this author could pack tremendous meaning in just a few words. So I began to read it as if I was reading mathematics, line by line, word by word. In mathematics, you have to pay, any math majors? You got to pay attention to every single detail. Every word in mathematics is essential, isn't it? It's great. It's great. Beautiful. So that's the way I started reading it, like mathematics. Every single word analyzed. So it said, and behold, we said to Adam, to the angels, bow down to Adam. I began to think, what does bow down mean, signify? Well, I just thought about it. What does it signify in human life? Bowing down, when one bows to another, often symbolizes servitude. One is going to serve the other. Now in the Quran, everything serves God, ultimately. But the Quran seemed to be saying that the angels, and this would be supported later on, the angels serve God in this way. They serve in humanity in their development on earth. They guide humans in their development here on earth, their spiritual and moral development. So they're here to serve us in some sense. This source of magnanimous urgings, these angelic influences we feel. And what else does it mean? It also could mean that one is superior to another. And certainly that seems to be the point in the Quran. Humans are potentially superior to angels. The angels ask the question, why create us when you could create us? God says, listen, you didn't consider this. And now he's telling the angels now, bow down to Adam after this demonstration. So it seems that the Quran is saying humans, with all their flaws, their voluntary surrender to God is more valued in God's sight. Their voluntary turning to God is more valuable in God's sight than the angels' programmed submission to God. But that comes later. So they're told, bow down to Adam. And then it says, not so Iblis. Now, who is Iblis? Later in the Quran, that confused me. What is Iblis? What are the angels? Well, later in the Quran, we find the angels do what they are told to do. They are almost programmed creatures. They cannot go against God's will. So who is Iblis? He was among the angels. Well, the Quran tells us he wasn't an angel. He was actually of the jinn, another unseen entity. But he's an unseen entity of a potentially rebellious nature. And it turns out that Iblis is the father of temptation. God introduces not just the angelic influences that we are exposed to, but the satanic influences as well. But source of temptation, but subliminal whisperings, as the Quran describes it, in our mind. And that's the sole role of Satan in the Quran. He's stripped of all the other powers that we associate with him, and his sole purpose is to give us those subliminal dark urges when we're faced with a moral dilemma. And in one place in the Quran, it has Satan say on the day of judgment, I had no power whatsoever over you. I but whispered, and you followed. So he is that perpetual voice we hear in our minds, urging us to do the wrong thing. And the angels are that perpetual voice when we're faced with a moral decision that urges us to do the right thing. And the Quran, these two voices that we hear in our modern language, in our minds, in the Quran, in our hearts, in the Quran, the whisperings in our chests, these two forces that we are exposed to heighten our awareness of the morality of a decision that we're facing. They act as sort of moral catalysts. They bring to our mind, when we're faced with a moral dilemma, the greatness of the situation. So that when I'm thinking of cheating on a test, it very much brings it into focus. And one voice is saying to me, go on, get the good grade. The other voice is saying, no, that's cheating, do the right thing. And I'm starting to sweat and get nervous because I'm hearing it from this side and that side. It's really a catalyst for spiritual decision making. And that seems to be their primary role as you read through the rest of the Quran. I'm reading ahead a little bit. But in any case, what the Quran seems to be saying here is what? In answer to the angel's question, first the Quran says, look, these human beings are intellectual beings. Didn't I tell you? I see the whole picture. But God said he's going to put the beings on earth. When is he going to put them on earth? Well, not yet. First they have to go through this teaching process. They have to learn. Okay, and they're gaining wisdom, they're gaining knowledge, etc. He's still not putting them on earth. Now we find something else about the human beings. They're subject to not just angelic inspiration, but satanic inspiration. What is the Quran telling us about human beings? They are also not just intellectual beings, but moral beings. They have an intrinsic understanding of right and wrong, and they receive moral impulses in both directions. Are they ready to go on earth yet? Now God should put them on earth. We now know they're moral beings. They're subjected to these two influences. They're intellectual beings. Okay, put them on earth. No, God's not ready to put them on earth. And behold, he said, the angels bowed down to Adam, and they bowed down, not so Iblis. He refused and was of the arrogant. Selfishness. Always putting yourself above the rights of others. You feel the right to impinge on someone else's God-given rights. Because you're selfish or arrogant. In any case, but that's a peripheral thing. He was of those who reject faith. So we go to the next verse. And we said, O Adam, dwell you, I have other verses written down to support that one, but skip it. I want to stick with the story as it is. I'm trying to keep it close to my first reading. Is that okay? And then we said, O Adam, dwell you and your spouse in the garden, and eat freely thereof what you wish, but come not near this tree, for you will be among the wrongdoers. I read that verse and I thought, the Quran certainly has a penchant for understating things. You know, because this is the famous and fateful command. O Adam, dwell you and your spouse in the garden, and eat freely thereof what you wish, but come not near this tree, for you will be among the wrongdoers. What's wrong with that verse, I thought? As those of you who came from a background like mine, there's no sense of urgency. There's no tension in that verse. It was taken out. You know, the story I grew up with, which I thought was a magnificent story, I looked at all these things from a literary perspective. I'm sorry, I did. And I'm not putting it down. I think it's beautiful and powerful. But in the story I grew up with, God is threatened at the possibility that man may eat from the tree. But in this verse, he's as relaxed as can be. O Adam, you and your spouse dwell in the garden, eat freely thereof what you wish. But come not near, and it's like the tree is picked at random. Come not near, let's see, this or you will be among the wrongdoers. I thought, does this author not understand the story? You know, because it's like he's using the same things, but he's permuting the details and telling it another way and bringing up different critical changes. It's almost as if he's using it, this great, great story, captivating story, as a vehicle for an original message. But no better story to capture the reader than this one. And make him see things he didn't see before. At least I thought that's what he was doing with me. Dwell you and your spouse and eat freely thereof what you wish, but come not near this tree, for you will be among the wrongdoers. So I was really getting confused and frustrated. And then the next verse, but Satan caused them to slip and expelled them from the state in which they were. And we said, go you all down. Some of you will be adversaries of others, and on earth will be your dwelling place and provision for a time. Slip? I thought Satan caused them to slip. I thought he really has a penchant for understating things. The greatest sin in the history of humanity, the very sin why we're all down here sentenced to life, the very sin by which we're all suffering and slogging, and the pain and divorce, and, you know, the misery of life. My life wasn't going well at that moment. My love life wasn't. But in any case, all that, the breakups, the agony, the pills, you know. Well, agony is me. You know, all this, and he describes this thing, like I said, the AIDS, the conflicts, the violence, the wars, George Bush. He describes it as a slip. I just thought that was a mistranslation. I went to my Arab friends, Excuse me. I just want you to help me interpret this verse. They go, oh, dear.